more powerful stuff. Burn has generally proven to be the better version of Rogue across its entire lifespan, apart from like Quest Rogue as like the one big exception, as the deviation away from just pushing damage with your eviscerates. As lambyseries living up to his tweet earlier on today that he is going to be the Asian Brad Pitt. My lord, he's looking good.
I mean, that's one way to debut on Grandmasters, and he's got the matching Jandice Shadow Step to go along with it. I'm not necessarily sure if this is something you always want in the mirror. Jandice, at the very least, I would keep in pretty much any matchup these days, but maybe the step is being a bit too greedy because he is on the coin here and will likely have to deal with some annoyances on the other side.
Yeah, and while we've been focusing on Lambyseries cam, Tyler's going for that look of when you've got GM at 4 but need to bring balance to the Fire Nation at 6. It's a strong look still, but hopefully in this game he'll be able to still take the win. As you're saying, for both players here, it's not a runaway victory, it's looking like for either player.
I'm sorry, I just don't get how this is a Zuko reference other than him not having hair, because it's a hoodie, right? It should be more like Mr. Robot. That's how I see it.
Well, I just meant he looks like Aang, right? He's got a full-on bald head.
Oh, Aang. Okay, you said Fire Nation. I was confused.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what he does, right? That's the eventual goal. Spoilers.
Fair, fair, fair. All 4 nations, not just the Fire Nation. Okay, well, the Hanar has hit the board, and it's already a pain for Tyler to deal with just as a 1-4. And now that the Secret Rogue is back in the meta, they're actually running Bamboozle quite a bit. I think it's stronger because, as we've seen from Jandice, the pool of 5-cost minions is nuts right now.
Yeah. I do kind of feel like you do actually just have to go for the clear here with Octobot and Prize Plunderer. You can just about do it right to clear everything off if you go with the attack in with the Orc Merchant and the dagger as well. But yeah, and it's just good next turn, right? If the Octobot activates, you can obviously go Man-Crick plus Swindle. Even if you can't, just Man-Crick on its own is looking perfectly decent.
Yeah, it's tough for Lambyseries to get rid of the Octobot in one fell swoop. This deck is no longer running Eviscerate, obviously, and it has Wicked Stab, which is not able to deal 4 until 5 mana. So Lamby is just going to get down his Sparkjoy cheat, and Tyler can play potentially Jandice now, but he has to be scared of Bamboozle still.
Right, this wasn't generated. He knows that it is in the list, and so attacking here first with the Octobot is very possibly going to lead it to not activating as, what is that, Judicious Junior is disgusting here in order to lock down this board. And I mean, there's one of those things that I think you might have caught if you'd been more experienced with what the Rogue secrets are and attacking in the other order.
Yeah, and truly this is the perfect card for Lamby because it had just enough attack to get rid of the Hanar, and also the health on this thing is just insane. It's going to value trade pretty much all of Tyler's threats for the next couple turns. Judicious Junior, if you guys didn't catch it, is actually a bit of lore. She is the pre-corrupted version of one of the new mercenaries we get in, what's the name? Tamsin Rome, was it?
Tamsin Rome, yeah. I forget which one of the Romes.
But anyway, we have Overlord Runthak, one of your favorite new cards, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about this before we went live, that like whenever I generate it, it just feels good. Even here, it only buffs 2 minions, but a 2-mana 4/3 Foxy Fraud is disgusting. And it's going to have to be a very impressive Jandice indeed to pull this one back for Tyler. And it's decent. It's not a bad Jandice at all, but I don't know if it's explosive enough to get the job done.
That's really saying something when you get Rush and Talon off Jandice. It's still not good enough. Really goes to show you how well things went for Lamby at the beginning. Probably just put it on the Talon, the illusion I mean, because it's already got Divine Shield, so it's annoying to Lamby one way or another. And the Krasinov can take 1 trade over the Gurbashi, although maybe you don't even want to buff it in the first place.
So many options.
I will say, Raven can be rejoicing right now because Bamboozle is finally good.
Well, it's being run. Let's leave it at that. I won't say good, but it's in a deck, which is more than I was expecting initially from any Raven prediction card. Yeah, I mean, he was really just wondering there if he goes for, like, just sacrificing off the Krastenov, which is generally what you do want to do when you get a rush minion off Jandis. But taking a value trade here, and, I mean, the difference between a 3-3 and a 3-1 on Talon is pretty small, to be fair, so I do like this choice in the end.
I think it's one of the few minions where you would just prefer the stats on the Krastenov instead of immediately clearing the Judicious Junior.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lamby series has access to the stab, which honestly, even if it just deals 2 here, is fine. It's already at 4, but everything is within its range at the moment.
It's a little awkward, right? Like, I agree you probably don't go for the Secret Passage on this turn, but the rest of it could be so much stronger. This is not the kind of turn that you want to be making. I guess, again, with the buffs, the fact that you can get Foxy Fraud down as a 4-3 here is pretty darn good.
I just like the look of this Prize Plunder, Dagger, and get rid of Talon. It's maximizing the stats on what he already has on board. He had a very, I mean, the guaranteed read on which one was the illusion. Judicious Junior continuing to make sure Lamby is not in any danger of dying. And the Kurobashi, now that it has 8 health, is actually even scarier.
Oh, Kazakus here for 1, though, is looking a little bit interesting, because if you can nail exactly poison plus 3 damage, you have a board clear here.
It's very unlikely, though. In terms of the keywords, it's 50-50 to get any specific one. Oh, wait, he did get it.
He got it. If he picked 1, which we couldn't see, if he picked poison and he picked 3 damage here,
that's really good.
He got it! Wow!
I think it's, if you want any specific combination, it's 25% because there's 6 of each. So 50-50 on the first and 50-50 on the second. So you can even step this. That's... I'm floored. I'm floored. He managed to clear this board and end up ahead of it. That's insane.
That is disgusting. That is exactly the kind of thing that needed to happen. I mean, I would even say the kind of thing, it needs to be like exactly that in order for Tyler to have any real chance, because he was just getting beaten down on this board.
But Lamby, thankfully for him, has Secret Passage, not running out of resources whatsoever. And because of that Overlord, the Foxy Fraud is actually a bit threatening now as well.
Okay, it's a relief to get Swindle at the end, or it looked like that Foxy Fraud was essentially wasted mana off of the Secret Passage. I guess you just take Mancrick?
Yes, I agree. The other option was Stab and then Stunner as a 1-2 because you are not stunning their Kazakus in any world, I think. But in the end, probably just better to take Mancrick. Merchant lets him take a value trade on the Foxy Fraud. He can follow up with Swindle. So Tyler's got his own resource generation. The Alex is a decent play come turn 9, but Lamby's early Judicious Junior means that I don't think Tyler's going to be on an aggro or race for lethal game plan anytime soon.
Okay, this is the kind of hand again that can start to do some pretty impressive stuff. Next turn, Field Contact, you save the Brain Freeze to go with that as well. And the chain can really start rolling.
True. Lamby, in the meantime, has his own Kazakus. I don't think the 1-drops are particularly as impressive in this state, but he can, in my opinion, have the time to take a 5-drop instead.
Or do you just go Secret Passage? Like, I wonder if there's anything more impressive in the deck that you can get. I guess with Jandis gone, Hanar gone, there's not really anything specifically that you're looking for outside of like SI7 agent for a nice swing.
And so he does go for the 5-drops. There's the Grom's Blood. Oh, sorry, this is 1-drop, right? Yeah, Wildvine. Yeah. So, the freeze here? He can go something like Dagger Freeze. That feels pretty bad, but it's the most tempo.
I wonder if you just take the copy there anyway. Like, summoning a copy of a 1-1, if it's Poisonous or Divine Shield or Stealth, like, it's not terrible. Yeah.
Okay, just playing his Volpertinger here with Poison.
Like, it's still really good. Obviously, it kind of just gives a target for the Brain Freeze at this point, or for both of them. So it doesn't work out for him here. But, you know, you take it anyway.
Things are getting scary. I did say that Tyler probably doesn't have the burst game plan available to him here, but this sequence of draws, Pen Flinger, and I think you're supposed to stab here to just get the Pen Flinger back in hand, means that Alex for just damage next turn, if it sticks as an 8-drop, it could be a 2-turn lethal setup.
Yeah, I am definitely wicked stabbing here. You have Field Contact plus Pen Flinger on the following turn as well. I get that you want to upgrade it to 6 to do the extra damage, but I don't know, man. It's Pen Flinger with Field Contact next turn.
Right. I mean, it's 2 extra damage you get, but it's 2 turns later, and the Pen Flinger probably gives you that 2 damage one way or another anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. He got rush on one of them, that's the important part. And it doesn't feel to me like he wants card draw, so the +2/+2 I think looks pretty good.
Yeah, especially as you can fit in one thief as well. Like, it's decent push onto the board.
Okay, thank goodness. It's obviously not good in this deck. But I just got a lot of flashbacks from seeing that option at all.
Ooh. So, obviously now you're looking at Tenwu to give yourself another 5-cost Golem off of the Kazakus. And if you did want to go for that, you wouldn't be able to go Field Contact first, right? Unless you wanted to go for 1 cost instead, which is, you know, something to consider.
He at the very least has to get rid of the 5/2, because if not, he's dead on board to this plus dagger. So
yeah.
There's also a line where it's just trade Kazakus and heal with Alex, for example. I wouldn't hate that. But given that this is Secret Rogue and they do have Blackjack Stunners, probably not good enough.
Okay, he's going with the 1 cost instead.
Ooh. Okay. He needs more of those shooty poison guys.
Oh,
Didn't quite hit it this time, yeah.
Too soon.
That's a shooty poison guy, essentially.
He's got to go really, really quick, though, if he wants to get all of this done. How many has he played at this point already? He's shadow stepping the 1/1 instead, which...
Of the prize plunder?
Over the prize plunder, it feels a little bit sus.
I'm going to go ahead and say very sus.
Yeah, okay.
Lamby now, is this lethal with Wicked Stab? 10. With SI7 agent, it is!
Yep.
How long has it been since you saw Disguised Toast for lethal?
Well, about 2 weeks since I last played Classic, I think. At this point, it's been with SI7 Agent. But very nicely done by Lambyseries. I think overall, it was clearly good understanding of the way the deck is supposed to be played overall with his own variant of Secret Rogue. A couple of things with Tyler that, you know, I think we could pick up on, like the... you know, not strict, but misordering, I think we can agree, with the attacking in to the Bamboozle, and then afterwards at the end with not stepping the prize plunder at the end. It was just a little bit too much damage left on the board at that point.
I think it wasn't quite misordering on Bamboozle, but the decision to attack at all.
Right.
It's hard to say strictly wrong because you can just sometimes say, if this isn't Bamboozle, I get super rewarded because this is the Octobot. And again, Lamby wasn't necessarily able to choose what secret got played. It was just a secret from hand by the Spark Heat. But you can also make the argument that the risk isn't worth it. But one way or another, the very least, Tyler knows his Kazakus golems. I will say that.
Very true. Very, very true. And wasn't able to hit the perfect Golem on the second time round, which was, in the end, what led to his demise. So Lambyseries taking a 1-0 lead at the start here, looking very, very solid out of the gate. His Rogue, which was, again, I suppose the question mark coming into this series. Not necessarily because I think it's bad, just because Secret Rogue is definitely not the most popular build at the moment, but it was looking pretty good there. Overall, just able to lock down the board and keep a lot of pressure rolling at all points in the game. Now the real question mark becomes, again, that token Druid, and whether or not it's able to fight back against, well, obviously the majority of standard decks from Tyler, but also the OTK Demon Hunter, which I think could be a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, I'm honestly not super familiar with Demon Hunter's matchup spread in this current meta. It's just one of those decks where the people who love it will say it's better than ever right now, beats everything but Mage, but that remains to be seen. For now, we are going to see one of the other popular decks in the meta, this Paladin, which is still running Kazakus. I hope for lambyseries' sake that it'll be easier for him to get it active than it was for Bank Yugi just in the series prior.
Yeah, again, it's the exact same list that we saw in the previous series from Bank Yugi. It's the exact same list that I've been running on ladder with the one Avenge, the one Libram of Judgment, and the one Libram of Justice. I do definitely think that Judgment is 100% worth playing on ladder because you want to be able to beat up the mages. I think it's probably still worth playing in tournaments overall, given that the rogues are very vulnerable to all the burst damage that you can push forward with Libram of Judgment as well. But as we saw in the previous series, specifically with Kazakus, every extra Libram that you put in your deck, no matter what kind it may be, does make it a little bit more awkward as to how you're trying to activate that Kazakus once they become cheaper. But then on the other side, we have another build of Libram Paladin, almost exactly the same, but just with 2 Libram of Justice as opposed to the one Judgment instead. So a little bit less offensive and more reactive.
Nobody likes Cariel, at least for this week. We'll see if the nerfs have anything to say about that, or just people kind of refining their lists in the future. But when it comes to the Paladin mirror as a matchup, I think it is very, very intricate. As somebody who plays Paladin, you would think that you would know best how to play around Paladin. But on ladder, I feel that a lot of people are unnecessarily giving secret activations where they can very easily just wait a turn, don't give them the 3-4 on board, because if you end a single turn in the mirror, even just one minion behind on board, it's very easy for things to snowball from that point with all of these Libram buffs.
We'll have to see. I feel like one of the most crucial aspects of this matchup, and something that I've tried to get better at in my play, is figuring out not even just the early game, but like the hyper early game, the turn 1 battle as to how you're trying to fight who gets that minion on board for the buffs when they come down, likely on turn 2, is very, very important in the matchup, which is why like Knight of Anointment is kind of a blessing and a curse in the early game, because yes, it's a 1-drop that you can play, it might draw you Hand of Adal, but it dies to a lot of stuff like Coin Sword of the Fallen, Penflinger even. There's a lot of 1-cost minions off of First Day at School that can deal that 1 extra damage, like the Orc Merchants and Elven Archer as well, or just Penflinger itself. And I do think that's a very, very important battle, because if you get off to a strong start in this matchup and you hit the buffs, very often that just leads to a win.
Yes, especially since the Paladins these days have cut the Brooms, they've cut Barov in favor of having this more aggressive secret package and more of a snowball factor. So the comeback mechanisms are tougher than ever.
I think that couldn't be a more perfect representation of these two players, Uther as lambyseries and Anoyatron as Tyler on the other side.
Oh my goodness, look at this opening hand for Tyler. He hit the Attendant and the Truth Seeker. I think this is a matchup where you still generally want to keep Truth Seeker even if it's a bit expensive.
Yeah, I do agree for the most part. I think I like it more on the coin, because very often you're going to go coin 5 into 5 with Truth Seekers and Talan in there as well.
Oh, this is interesting.
Ooh.
He can clear.
Coin Attendant Prize Plunderer? That's disgusting, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's rough because the rest of his hand is super expensive, but the potential to shut down Hand of Adal, Libram of Wisdom, I think the temptation's too high, and Lamby does go for the full swing here. Means he has full control of the board for the next couple turns.
Yeah, I love this play. As I was saying, it's about locking down the board, and lambyseries has been given, he's been extended an olive branch by the gods here, as that is one of the very, very few ways, if not like the only way, to clear off the Aldor Attendant on turn 1, which means he gets the initiative with the buffs here. Look, Libram of Wisdom to take a value trade, obviously permitting with Oh My Yogg not coming down on the other side, but it's just so brutal.
Tyler is running 2 Galloping, 2 Yogg, and 1 Avenge here. So Lamby going to go ahead and test first. And because you have Elven Archer, you can end the turn without a Penflinger on the board.
And, I mean, Tyler not especially upset the secret didn't get activated on that turn. Again, it was very, very difficult to do so and involve another First Day at School. But being able to draw with the Northwatch Commander, being able to draw again, most likely, with another Northwatch Commander at the other side, these are well-statted minions that I think are just big enough coming down on curve to wrestle back this pretty disastrous start to the game.
Right. looking back on it, I'm a bit curious about Lamby's choice of minion to buff with the Libram, because generally when you have this kind of hand where there's not much to do, you want to eke out value with Penflingers, and so my first instinct would have been to put the Libram on the lower health minion so that after Tyler plays his next minion, you feel more comfortable about trading it away to get back that Libram.
Yeah, I do actually kind of agree with you there, because my first thought was, okay, if you buff the Prize Plunder and then bump it, it's capable to be killed off by like Sword of the Fallen or Penflinger, but you can kill it anyway at the moment. And then your Libram of Wisdom is kind of stuck inside the Aldor Attendant instead of being freed up to be played again. So I agree. I think making it as easy as possible to replay it is a big deal.
Okay, that Stunner, certainly not getting played this turn, but that could be so crucial later on.
Yeah.
This is one of those matchups where, you know, people are not running Silas anymore. There's just no room. So sometimes you just play one big guy, stuff all your Librams on it, and just hope it sticks the next turn. That Blackjack Stunner could change everything.
Hey, loser!
It's definitely going to be the trump card that pulls Tyler back into this one, because again, even if we were saying that things were looking a little bit rough for Lamby in terms of how, well, they weren't looking as good as we were expecting given how dominant his start was. He's still in a good spot, obviously. He knows now, of course, that this is exactly Galloping Savior, so he does hold back on going Penflinger plus the extra Libram here, and wisely so.
Love to see it. He would have ended up giving Tyler more stats on board even if he could have taken this one value trade. However, Lamby is still falling behind here. Tyler is the first to play Aldor Truthseeker, and he has Libram of Hope if he just wants to follow up. Alternatively, Blackjack Stunner is backbreaking here too. Or is it? They do get another discount, but you get so much tempo.
Oh, it's so good, right? You have to do it here. Like, I suppose the alternative you could go for is like bump and then heal with Libram of Hope on your minion if you would rather go about it that way, which does obviously develop a very large board presence.
I think the question to ask is if Tyler bounces back this Aldor, does he get a good trade next turn? He'll have the Blackjack and the Talon on board. So in some ways, yes, because then Talon and the remaining 4/6 could kill the next Aldor. And then he can go Libram for the heal. Oh, Lamby's reaction tells you all you need to know about just how good of a generated first day of school minion that is.
Yeah, and the way that Tyler develops here as well just means that if the Aldor comes down on the following turn again, which is a reasonable play to expect, his follow-up is just so clean in terms of how he kills it.
Because of that, Lamby might just immediately commit the Libram of Justice. Gets rid of a 4/6 here. I think it's fine. It does make the Penflinger a bit more difficult to use next turn, but I think you're meant to worry about that when the time comes. At the moment, the board is just too threatening.
It's the only one in the list, which means that these Librams of Hope, once they come down, are going to be brutal to try and deal with. But you make a good point. Like, he was losing that board anyway. He had to do something.
So, if Tyler wants, he can just play the 8/8 and it's strong here, even if you leave up the 4/6 on board. Because the rest of the turn, if he doesn't do that, is a couple 1-drops and the Libram of Justice. I mean, just because of the point you mentioned, where there's only one Libram of Justice for Lamby series, I really like the idea of getting the 8/8 right now.
That's true, yeah.
I wonder...
It's a very close one.
I cannot wait to read these.
Because getting the immediate tempo, I suppose, of more Penflingers played is a pretty big deal as well. With the Libram of Justice, but I think this does look like, yeah, he's just leading up to Libram of Hope in the end.
Okay. Trading off this shield as well, I'm a little bit iffy about that. I feel like the Divine Shield on that means now that Lamby can just swing it. Kill. Not an overly big thing. Like, he knew about Penflinger as well at that point, so not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's probably more focused on trying to, ping off the Divine Shield and then bump in with Hand of Adul, but even then it doesn't quite lead to a clear on the 8/8.
Okay. He can do it now. He has to tank 8 and leave the Penflinger on board, but... Oh, and you give him the Galloping.
Right.
Yeah, it's just no way out. Tyler had all his bases covered. Maybe you just leave the 8-8 at this point and take the VT on the horse.
Yeah. And then, I mean, really, the nail in the coffin here for Tyler is obviously he had the tail end, so he's able to guarantee himself Lady Liadra and get another Libram of Hope, more buffs coming down. It's just more and more pressure. It's going to be very difficult for lambyseries to keep up with all this.
And we did talk about this prior to the game beginning, that once somebody sticks board, because there's no more Barov, no more Broom, the snowball is stronger than it's ever been in this matchup. And I'm taking a look at the list from Lamby, having a hard time figuring out what could bring him back into this. Long as Tyler doesn't give up his Libram of Hope into Omayog, and he did not.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I mean, I guess if he knew that this was going to get Omayog, the Libram of Justice at the end there was not...
Oh.
Well, the Penflinger ordering was not too bad, I suppose.
That fell screen could have gone very wrong, to be fair. It didn't target the worst possible place.
Then I guess VT and heal, or you can just go face and heal as well here is not bad either.
I think that's better, even.
Sure.
There's just no more Libram of Justice on the other side. So Lamby's best play here is another Libram of Hope, which is far too slow.
He does have it. It doesn't allow him a clear in any way, obviously, but I think it on board at least keeps him alive.
Yes, he flings the Divine Shield, plays one Libram, and then there's just nothing to swing into with the sword. Might just play the North Watch as a 3-4.
I guess. Like, you're not getting any secrets anytime soon, as you said. Sword can't swing into anything.
Yeah. It's just that Tyler has been like half a step ahead since 3 turns ago. Then it's become 1 step, then it's become 2 steps, because the snowball effect of being able to trade 1 minion and heal it up gets stronger and stronger. So if we're looking at comeback mechanisms for lambyseries, it's truly just Kazakus at this point, and even then it's a big if on whether that can get enough done. You need Rush Poison.
And the real problem
might be enough. Wait, how many Librams are in this Liadrin even?
I don't think that many, right? Because he hasn't actually played many buffs. It might just be the 2 Librams of Hope, right?
Okay, in that case, then it's certainly Sword to play here.
Oh, and Fellscreen Blast. Tyler quickly mouses over that card. That might come up later in the series, Tyler, so good job, you know what it does.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, not terrible.
I honestly have not counted how many wisdoms here. It's probably enough after you play this one and then Liadrin to clear the 8-8.
Yeah. You'd get like 3 or 4 back, right? But I mean, if you get 4 exactly, then you would be able... Oh no, not to clear the board. You'd have to tank the damage as well, still. Yikes.
And Lamby already knows that at the very least, there could be 2 more 8-8s coming out this turn.
Yep.
There's just no counterplay to that other than Kazakus for Rush Poison. And even then, he has Divine Shields to deal with. He has no more Penflinger. And also, Tyler just has Penflinger lethal.
Just has the lethal with Penflinger. Unlucky there. Oh, unless something goes disastrously wrong here, sorry. Okay. That is the something that goes disastrously wrong.
He's still fine, though. I mean... Okay, now you just play an 8-8, and I think that's pretty good.
He could have avoided that, right? Just by playing the Omayog first, he would still have had mana to hit lethal. Now things get a little bit more interesting, I will admit.
Right.
I still think he's winning this, probably. But Lady Liadrin can come down on the following turn, which gets some pretty significant buffs.
You're right. He was supposed to start with Fellscream without the Penflinger.
Right.
Go Penflinger, Libram, Penflinger.
Oh my god, if this is a win now for the Lamby series, I will lose it. I will absolutely lose it.
Oh, it's so unlikely though.
It really is. Because the
Come back
Librams of
from
Hope,
2 health.
they cost 4 at the moment, right? If they cost 3, then he'd be laughing, but I think they're just 1 mana too expensive.
And there is just nothing to be done about this board. He can Penfling and then Liadrin the books back onto this Truth Seeker, but there's just far too much other stats left on board.
Oh no, wait, it costs 2!
Wait, it costs 2?
Oh, because the Tendon was played again. The Truth Seeker was played again and then 1 at the end.
The Stunner!
Okay. The Stunner finally coming back to bite Tyler now.
Oh my goodness.
No way.
Okay, so now he clears the 8/8 and then puts all the rest of this on his own 8/8. Derek, are you about to lose it? I'm about to lose it.
I will lose my mind, Gia. He still has another Libram of Hope, I suppose, so there's still pressure from Tyler and board development as well, but this is getting very, very powerful from Lamby, and Tyler knows it.
He just can't kill the 12. What is this? A 15-15 at the end of this? 14-14? Just can't be dealt with. Not with the current hand, at least. I am still struggling to wrap my head around how this complete reversal of events exactly took place. Okay, that's a good start, though. Tyler still has 1 Libram of Justice in his deck.
7, 9. Yeah, it's not there yet. I mean, you're looking for the Libram of Justice. You're looking for even Libram of Wisdom, right, is pretty good because you can just put it on all of them individually and it gives you basically +4 attack.
Yeah. He also has Kazakus left in the deck. We can see just exactly what Tyler is fishing for. That is not quite it, but he can at least stall with his own Libram of Hope. Oh my goodness, can Lamby do it? He has played his big bomb, the Liadrin, and so resources are looking a little bit scarce from this point on, but I think that 15-15 might be enough to leverage.
So he can do 11. I still don't think he can clear, right? Even with Fellscream Blast and 2 more Penflingers, I think it's just short.
Yeah, he would have to fit in the Libram as well, but then you don't have enough mana to get all the flings. So I think this is the right way to go about it. Just play your 8/8 and then let Lamby deal with this board. The quantity of minions is more valuable to Tyler than the 15-15 is a threat. Okay, so Fling Divine Shield always happens. And then I suppose Hand of Adal on Liadrin so she can value trade the horse.
Yeah, I think drawing a card is much more valuable than drawing a minion at this point with Northwatch, right?
Correct. We can take a look at what Lamby has left in his deck as well. Kazakus available to both players, and crucially the second Libram of Hope, Libram of Justice, also pretty relevant at this point. Aldar Attendant is not what you necessarily want to see, but the 15-15 is getting there. It's just getting there, Derek.
Oh, it's impossible. It's just impossible. Oh wait, that can get Libram of Hope for 2 mana.
Oh my god, you're right. Are you serious? Are you serious?
There's no way.
That goes on his face, right?
Surely. He's just winning.
Okay, wait, if Tyler gets Libram of Justice off the top, then Fellscreen Penflinger does so much to clear. That's not it, though. Oh my god, Lamby just... Oh my yog, Derek. No other words.
Oh my yog indeed. How is that your reaction? How can you be that cool? Okay, just because you got the jacket and the shirt on, right, does that just change your whole outlook on life as your opponent? I mean, calling it a throw is a bit strong, but it's also kind of correct because there was a 100% way to win the game there, right? That what happened to him was tremendously unlucky, but it was avoidable nonetheless there for Tyler.
Right.
I don't even know what to say. That was one of the most absurd games of Hearthstone I've seen in a very long while.
Oh, I wish it made it into the highlight reel, just that one oh my yogg. But truly, I think good on Lamby for not giving up towards the end there, because he was dying death by 1,000 cuts towards the mid game there. There was almost no outs. He needed an exact Kazakus or for Tyler to mess up big time. And even you and I forgot that the Libram of Hope was cheap enough to play on the same turn with Liadrin and still have the mana for Penflinger because of that Blackjack Stunner that I think was still correct for Tyler to play at the time.
Yeah, I agree. I never thought it would come back to bite him quite that severely, but it did in the end. I don't think I've ever seen a 2-mana Libram of Hope, actually. Or actually, it was 1 mana at the end, right, with the second Aldor Attendant played as well. It was very close down to just a 0-mana 8/8 Divine Shield Taunt heal for 8. Absolutely absurd. But still, congratulations to Lamby. I think well-deserved of a victory there as, I mean, you know, obviously the cracks are starting to show in the game plan for Tyler, as that was an expected win, should have been 1 game each, but it does now go to 2 games to 0 for Lamby, as he is now only left to win with his Druid, I believe, right? The token Druid is the one remaining archetype left, which looked like it could have been the Achilles heel for Shaxi, but it was on the 3rd and final try that he was able to get the win over Bank Yugi in the previous series, and thankfully for Lamby, he has the full 3 tries to get a win with this one single deck.
It is true, and he has the extremely streamlined version. This is a very cheap deck if you guys want to find something to climb the ladder with. Only 3,000 dust, no legendaries, no need to run Guff. If you're like me, at least we have seen the Guff version from players like Blitzchung. But generally, Gibberling and Glowfly Swarm is all you need to get the job done, especially against decks that don't run AoE, as we very clearly saw from Tyler.
Yeah, just a very, very clean list overall here from Lamby series. Like, I can definitely understand the players who are going with taking out Soul of the Forest, or I think Guess the Weight has been experimented with a little bit in terms of putting Guff in or putting Guidance in, as we saw from Shaxi. But this is the standard list. This is what you deviate away from if you want to try and put in some of those weirder tech cards. But a full 15 2-ofs in a deck is truly a sight to behold. As you'd have to imagine, against the majority of Tyler's decks, I do feel like this is going to be in a good spot. But despite some of the premium removal cards for Demon Hunter rotating out, they did get a couple of pretty nice tools here that allow them to control the board in the mid game before they go for that classic Il'gynoth-Moarg combo that we know in the late game.
True. Sigil of Flame is the one that really comes to mind in terms of a premium board removal tool. It reminds me of the old days, or even the current days, when you'd go on Classic and play Doomsayer, even without a freeze, just forcing your opponent to either kill that or just have no development on their turn is extremely powerful. And Sigil of Flame, there's just no way to interact with it. If it comes down, you either cede the board for that turn to your opponent, or you try and build minions higher than 3 health. But if they do survive the Sigil of Flame, they often just die then to an Immolation Aura.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's one of the main reasons why Pride's Fury is making its way into the list. Obviously not specifically for Demon Hunter, but just there's a lot of removal at the moment that relies on dealing an amount of damage rather than just, you know, Twisting Nether style deleting a board. Like in Priest, you have Zyrella, Holy Nova, Samuro as well in combination with Apotheosis, and obviously here in Demon Hunter as well. It's very much damage-based removal rather than hard removal. So getting a big health buff from Pride's Fury is very, very beneficial to your game plan. As a Lamby series to kick things off in potentially our 3rd and final game of the series. Has a Glowfly Swarm. It's, you know, far from guaranteed to be insanely powerful quite yet if he doesn't hit the card draw. But it's a decent start. It's one of those ways to develop the board that we always talk about.
And if anybody has been hiding under a rock for the previous expansion, this deck from Tyler is nothing new, at least in its overall game plan. You're looking to leverage this card. Okay, fine. It was drawn. I didn't have to highlight it. Il'gynoth, which means that you can OTK your opponent with cards like Fellscream Blast. Previously, you were including Ethereal Og Merchant with the Moarg Artificers. That has now been replaced by Talented Arcanist, a new card from this meta that gives the next spell you play +2 spell damage.
Yeah, it's a really nice way to juice up both the damage and also just the healing that you can do with the deck. Obviously, Fellscream Blast and I-Beam, of course. You still need a lot of healing in this metagame with the likes of Rogue, Paladin, and even Mage knocking about as well. Very nice turn, though, from lambyseries. Getting himself Fungal Fortunes, it really opens up the creative ways that he can play with this hand, because obviously it could just be Fungal on turn 3, Glowfly the turn after, but there's possibilities for Gibbling plus Fungal, maybe even like plus a Power of the Wild on this turn as well, depending on what he gets.
There's certainly so many ways to approach this for Lamby, and conversely, there's a lot of things for Tyler to have to think about in terms of timing his Sigil of Flame, because there's a window where Sigil of Flame clears pretty much anything the Druid can do, but if you wait too long, they sometimes reach a break point where either it's that board buffed with the new card you were saying that gives a lot of health, or they're able to tag a Soul of the Forest onto it, and suddenly the one Sigil of Flame might not be enough.
Yeah, that's right. It was traditionally against the control decks that Soul of the Forest was the way to make an immovable board. But now with Pride's Fury, it's yet another way to make those seemingly unanswerable boards within range again.
And it looks like Lamby is actually going to go for an early Gibberling set with Pride's Fury. This is by no means a scary board in terms of attack, but it's a sturdy board, which, like you were saying, this has not really been an option available to Token Druid before.
Yeah, this is kind of a clever way to go about things as well, because for Lamby here, it opens him up the ability to... well, actually, no, I was going to say Fungal Fortunes. I was living in the 2-mana world, but he still has the ability to play on this turn, and then he still has Fungal Fortunes to fill up for Glowfly Swarm, even if it's on turn 6, with Solar Eclipse plus Fungal Fortunes very possibly coming down on the next turn. It's not like by going in on this play early, he was going all in. He still has a very strong backup afterwards.
At first, it looked like maybe not getting enough value out of the Lightning Bloom, but when I looked at Lamby's hand again, he didn't have that Pride's Fury at the time, which means his Glowfly Swarm, if he were to play it early, was pretty much dead to just Immolation Aura, let alone Sigil of Flame. So Lamby was trying to make the most out of a hand that doesn't match up well against Demon Hunter's removal. But you can see here now for Tyler, he has a dilemma of whether he wants to commit Immolation Aura here. I think you absolutely don't. It's just not worth it for 2 minions, especially when you have the I-Beam to get rid of 1.
I mean, little did we know that it wouldn't be the Druid putting Guff in their deck in this game, because this hand is absolutely rubbish. What is even going on here? He's got both the Philosophies, but no Moargs. He's got Il'gynoth, no Skull to try and outcast, even if, well, to even play, whether or not it's outcasted at all here. If he can get Skull off the top on the following turn, then we're talking. But outside of that, this is looking disastrous.
True, and Lamby has finally put the pedal to the metal. He had that Fungal Fortunes draw for 5, not quite the full 6 because he did draw that one Gibberling, but no sweat off his back. He still gets a complete Glowfly Swarm for the next turn, and he can start chaining threats.
Well, he can get a 4/4 on the board, I suppose, in order to try and fight back. It's probably the best use of his mana, I agree. He still has the possibility of top deck Skull as the real out on the following turn. Yeah. But lambyseries is going to stop playing with his food at this point and start going in on this board.
A little bit short of being able to go Glowfly with the Soul of the Forest. So we could see him go for something like that Thorn Growth, like you were pointing out, with Pride's Fury. Interesting. So the turn ends just here, right? Because you want that discount for Glowfly and won't waste it on the Guess the Wait. So it looks like Lamby is just trying to bait out an Immolation Aura or something along those lines here, and then follow up with the Glowfly Soul of the Forest.
Yeah, it's Glowfly Soul or Glowfly Pride's Fury. I'm not sure which I like more. Probably Soul of the Forest, because you'd rather go Solar Eclipse plus Pride's Fury in order to get the double attack buff as well. But it's a very smart setup here. Very careful calculation of the exact breakpoints in terms of the mana he has available.
Oh.
Ooh. So that does
we
now
can do
open
both now, right? With the Innervate? Oh wait, no, it's 1 mana short.
Well, he can get Solar down with the Pride Fury. That's the interesting part to me here. He can give +6 to all of his minions. That becomes supremely difficult for the Demon Hunter to deal with.
True, especially since he's just seen an Immolation Aura. They would have to, at the very least, expend a Moarg here, or a Talented Arcanist, and they need to have the other Immolation. So I quite like where your head is at.
Yeah. I just think they're really going to struggle to deal with it. Like, yes, you know, there's the possibility for Moargs, and your opponent has played the Fell Screamer as well in order to reduce that, but they still need another copy of the Immolation Aura as well. It's a lot of cards that need to come together here for Tyler to be able to clear, and Lambyseries is calling his bluff.
Yeah, I think you put it really cleanly in that Demon Hunter, their removal tools work really well against Soul of the Forest in particular, because it deals a lot in small values, but you can play several of those spells at once, like the Fell Scream Blast. But it so happens that when all of these minions have 8 health, that's way more numbers than I've ever seen on a token Druid minion. It's just near impossible to deal with everything. And if you do Moarg something, it's only going to have to be with the Fell Scream Blast a lot of the time, and you only end up clearing half the board or even 3 out of 7, and it's just not going to get anywhere close here for Tyler.
It is not indeed. I didn't even know numbers went that high, in all honesty, with all these on the board. Talented Arcanist, double Fell Scream even, plus trade. Like, you can clear one thing off the board with like Eldraki thrown in there as well. But yeah, that is not a game.
If he had 1 more mana, I think that was lethal. If he had 1 more mana to play with the Il'gynoth and the second Fell Scream, but just doesn't quite get there.
9-18. Oh yeah, I guess it was actually kind of close. Honestly, I wasn't even looking at lethal actually.
Wait. Oh wait, sorry. It was just short. The Arcanist is only on your first spell of the turn. But clearly, Lambyseries is in complete control here. Even if he doesn't deal the lethal this turn, Tyler is out of stuff. And that's the lethal this turn.
Get out of here. Game 3 going to Lambyseries. An absolutely dominant display from Lamby. Just not even looking like he was in any danger of losing that final game. Even the Paladin that should have lost for, there should have been a loss for him. He still ends up taking the room. And once again, completely ruins the dapper image by dabbing and having an unmade bed in the background. That is true millennial Zoomer energy that I am all here for from Lamby.
It's great to see one of the new GMs bring this kind of energy and personality into APAC. We have often been criticized for having players that are not too emotive on stream, but no longer. Lambyseries is on the scene now, and he will be joining us tomorrow alongside Glory from this group. And we do have 2 more matches at the rest of the day. But for any Tyler fans, don't be too sad, because he is still walking away with a point from his previous win off stream against Dawn.
Yeah, that's right. It's not the end of the world for Tyler. And this is the start of a 7-week season here for our players. It is, again, effectively an individual tournament being played out each week. And on Friday, we are deciding the decider match of each of the 4 groups that were played off stream, which basically means that we're going to have 8 players ready to go for our quarterfinals tomorrow. And Lambyseries will be amongst those 8 players. As you said, that is our second match done for the day now as we take a look at Lamby just absolutely cleaning up here. The next one of the day is going to be, I believe, Tiz up against a Blitzchung. You know, as we were talking